But the world, you see, like, is a vast place.
You know, the continent, we've been able to do some dope stuff. You know?
Dans le rap africain, bien sûr, surtout.
There's the movement of hip-hop, R&B music, house music, all that coming out of not only South Africa, but the continent in general is just amazing right now.
I was surprised how big this scene is in Africa. When I did a tour over there, and the DJ before me played so many hip-hop records and so many Afrobeats, both that I never heard before, but had the club rocking. That is such a huge scene.
C'est le hip-hop en tant que culture ou en tant que musique, si on parle du rap, dans une certaine partie du monde, aux États-Unis peut-être, les gens samplaient du funk, enfin de la musique de chez eux, si tu veux. Nous, on a fait pareil avec les ingrédients de chez nous.
Regardless where you from, you know, it's where you at.
Comfortably sitting on my sofa, smoking, floating on this fine air, reflecting on the storm. So far, I'm so far from where I come from, so far from it home. Hip-hop first reached Botswana in the 80s, started to gain traction in the 90s, as young people from rich families began to adopt the genre, particularly aspects like the fashion style, and emulated the energy of hip-hop in their lifestyles. As in many other countries with early access to hip-hop, it first hit young people from families in high social classes who logically had easier access to international contents. But unlike other countries, this trend contributed to the popularity of hip-hop in Botswana by making it look quote-unquote cool. Popular DJs emerged such as DJ Schizo and DJ Seed, who formed the group P-Side, one of the most influential in Botswana hip-hop history. The media also helped promote the genre by showcasing local acts around the same period. Also, Kwaito, a subgenre of hip-hop from South Africa, gained popularity in the country and resonated with youth, particularly from rural areas, giving the cultural ties between the two countries. During the 2000s, hip-hop popularity increased even more, with groups who gained prominence in the 90s reaching their peak and the emergence of many new local acts. The media kept playing an important role by promoting local hip-hop, and in the mid-2000s, the genre started to get recognition outside its borders in the Southern Africa region, with artists such as Mr. Doe, Scar, and Zeus. During the 2010s, the genre whose artists were facing critics of sounding too western took a more local turn, and then Motswako hip-hop, a subgenre of hip-hop in Botswana, was born. It's basically Botswana hip-hop with the use of more local sounds and local languages. The hip-hop scene in Botswana is supported by events and gatherings that bring artists and fans together, like the Motswako Invasion Festival, one of the most significant events in the country. Open mic events, street cyphers, and battle rap competitions are also common, providing young rappers and producers with opportunities to showcase their talent. Despite the fact that hip-hop in Botswana has slowed down by the end of the 2010s, the genre is still alive and popular, making us enthusiastic about its future. Hip-hop in Eswatini began to make its presence known in the late 90s and early 2000s, influenced by the global hip-hop culture and the growing scenes from neighboring countries such as South Africa. In the early years, hip-hop in Eswatini had an underground presence, with local artists drawing inspiration from American hip-hop icons. However, the Eswatini hip-hop scene started to distinguish itself a little bit as local artists began to incorporate the country's indigenous languages such as Siswati, the national language, and English to their lyrics. The blend of local languages and global influences gave rise to a unique Swazi hip-hop sound. Also, the growth of the South African Kwaito heavily influenced the local scene in Eswatini. Artists in Eswatini used the genre to address important social and political issues, the likes of frustration with poverty, unemployment, political corruption, lack of opportunities. Some also used their music to comment on the country's political system, which remains largely a monarchy under King Mswati III, and the limited freedom of expression faced by citizens. The Eswatini hip-hop scene blend international influences with local sounds. While global hip-hop trends shape the style and delivery, Swazi artists often mix in local beats, traditional rhythms, and dialects. The Eswatini hip-hop scene is still relatively small compared to larger countries and live mainly through the acts of neighboring countries. Its growth faces many challenges such as limited media exposure, with traditional radio stations and TV channels which are often dominated by other genres such as traditional music, pop, and dancehall. Economic and infrastructure limitations, cultural resistance from some traditionalists who view it as a foreign influence are also challenges faced by hip-hop in the country. Also, Eswatini's political environment, which is a monarchy with limited freedom of expression, doesn't facilitate the growth of outside influences. Hip-hop approximately reached Lesotho in the mid to late 90s. As a small country with a rich cultural history, hip-hop beginnings in Lesotho were kind of timid. Much like in other African nations, the genre was first introduced through traditional global media outlets and the internet. Among the small part of youth in Lesotho who embraced the culture, the influence of the American scene was strong, and it showed in the records and testimony from that time. The late 90s and early 2000s saw a rise in popularity for the genre through battles, cyphers, and local crews who would influence each other. By the mid-2000s, the hip-hop scene in Lesotho started to grow, with young artists experimenting with rap, incorporating Sesotho, the national language, alongside English into their lyrics. The late 2000s to late 2010s marked another shift in Lesotho hip-hop trajectory. Up to now, most actors of the scene were parts of crews and collectives, competing and influencing each other in the capital, Maseru. From the late 2000s, many individuals started to emerge, keeping the core of what Lesotho hip-hop had become, but while also making the sound evolve and its content a bit more diverse. The hip-hop culture in Lesotho is still growing, but has increasingly become a form of self-expression and artistic innovation. Many young people in the country use hip-hop not just as a genre of music, but also a lifestyle. However, the genre is still underground, underdeveloped, and relatively small. It seems that it will keep going that way in the near future, with hip-hop in Lesotho being a subculture adopted by a part of the youth who will keep it alive. The hip-hop culture came to Namibia during the late 90s and early 2000s. Much like in many other African countries, the genre initially gained popularity among urban youth in cities like Windhoek, the capital, Swakopmund, and Katutura, influenced by the global rise of American rap and the growth of hip-hop culture in Africa. Local artists began to adapt and infuse their own cultural elements, including languages such as Afrikaans, Otjerero, Damara, Nama, and English into their lyrics. This blend of indigenous languages and global hip-hop influences helped form a distinctly Namibian style, and artists began to use the genre as a platform for addressing local issues such as poverty, unemployment, lack of education, identity, and more personal themes, creating a creative and diverse scene. The local scene was, like most of southern African countries, influenced by the waves coming from South Africa, and many Namibian artists adopted subgenres like Kwaito as well. Several artists have played a key role in shaping the hip-hop scene in Namibia, contributing to its growth and helping to establish the genre as a significant part of the country's music culture. We can name Lioness, one of the leading female rappers in Namibia, The Dog, a Kwaito hip-hop artist from the mid-2000s, Gaza, and many more. More than the music, hip-hop culture is well integrated with the Namibian youth, with a strong graffiti culture, hip-hop dance, events, and a great number of DJs. Many events also celebrate the culture as well as general music awards, which recognize the genre and give it an important place. Despite all that, hip-hop in Namibia is still relatively underground and suffers from a lack of renewal since the late 2010s. However, the future of hip-hop in Namibia looks promising. As the culture continues to resonate with Namibian youth, it is likely that the genre will grow both locally and globally. Increased collaborations with artists from neighboring countries like South Africa, as well as the rise of international exposure, will provide Namibian hip-hop with new opportunities. Hip-hop first emerged in South Africa during the mid-80s. Influenced by American culture, the South African youth adopted the cause of hip-hop in terms of aesthetics and lifestyle, and the music gained popularity by being played in clubs and social gatherings. Graffiti was also famous in urban areas such as Cape Town and Johannesburg. Also due to the social context of the country under the apartheid regime, the Zulu Nation, a major Pan-African hip-hop movement in the US, openly supported the ANC, who was symbol of revolution at the time, facilitating this exchange of cultures and the growth of hip-hop music and culture locally in SA. Early notable hip-hop crews from the 90s include the Cape Town's Prophet of the City and Black Noise, to name a few. After apartheid, hip-hop popularity increased in major cities such as Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Durban, and many other notable crews saw the light of the day, such as the female crew Godesa. During the 90s, the Kwaito genre evolved as a subgenre of hip-hop at first, but quickly quickly grew to become its own genre and gain popularity among the local youth and the one in the southern African region. The genre distinguished itself by its bouncy, low-tempo beat, the almost exclusive use of vernacular languages, and its positive and light message even when tackling serious matters. With the popularity of Kwaito during the 90s and early 2000s, more traditional hip-hop acts transitioned or reinvented their sounds. The country, who was reshaping itself in the post-apartheid era, opened the way to more international exposure, which also helped South African music to reach overseas and contributed to develop more influences for local creatives. Hip-hop, which had become a pillar among the country's urban culture, kept increasing in popularity, and the late 2000s to late 2010s marked an unprecedented growth of hip-hop in the country, considered by many as its golden age. The industry grew, and diverse events, festivals, and award ceremonies celebrated the culture, and many artists made an impact during that period, like Hip-Hop Ponsula, known for heavily using Setswana, one of the country's local language, Casper Nyovest, one of the biggest names in South African hip-hop still active today. The artist who gained fame in the mid-2010s has had many milestones, notably by filling up the FNB Stadium of almost 95,000 seats in 2015, setting a record as the first South African artist to do so. The late AKA, known for his mainstream appeal and controversial personality, whose impact on the local scene was almost unprecedented. Nasty C, probably the most popular South African hip-hop artist to date, known for his international appeal and potential. We can also name KO, an artist respected for his lyricism, Nadia Nakai, probably the most accomplished female rapper of the last decade, and the late Ricky Rick, who was a major influence in South African hip-hop before his passing. Known for his music and his promotion of the culture through fashion, his support to newer artists, and eventually Cotton Fest, the cultural festival he established. The South African hip-hop scene is rich in talent and is worth fully diving into. The culture and its industry are standard on the continent and have been for a while now. Despite losing ground in the late 2010s and early 2020s to other local genres such as drum and the cultural phenomenon Amapiano, hip-hop is still well and alive despite a lot of concern from local enthusiasts. From the underground regional scenes to the mainstream, everyday new hip-hop artists in South Africa emerge, bringing with them something new, keeping the genre in a constant evolution. South African hip-hop is set to continue its growth, both in terms of commercial success and cultural influence. The only challenge now might be to widen its reach on the continent, outside the southern African region, and at large the Anglophone English communities. As despite hip-hop in South Africa doing relatively well compared to most African countries, its reach stays limited on the continent, and the international attempts have for the most part failed. However, as the scene continues to evolve, it is safe to say that South African hip-hop is on the right path to have a more important impact on the global scene.
Comfortably sitting on my sofa, smoking, floating on this fine air, reflecting on this storm. So far, I'm so far from where I come from, so far from it home.